Welcome to the Canadian Journalist, guys. Many of you may have missed this, but Trudeau's environment minister has some explaining to do, according to Rick Perkins and many others. Stephen Guilbeault is a current shareholder in the venture capital investment firm Cycle Capital, whose companies got over $200 million from the scandal-plagued Liberal Green Slush Fund. So how far does the corruption go, he asks. Well, let's watch it in the House of Parliament.
China for the battery ecosystem, Mr. Speaker, in this country, and I have more.
The Environment Minister is already under fire for his $30 billion carbon tax cover-up. He was a lobbyist for Cycle Capital. Cycle Capital companies got more than $200 million from the Liberal Green Slush Fund. Wow. Now we learn he is still a big shareholder in Cycle Capital. And since becoming Environment Minister, Cycle Capital companies have gotten another $17 million from the Green Slush Fund. Liberal insiders getting rich on taxpayer money, a carbon tax cover-up, the Environment Minister profiting from the Green Slush Fund sleaze. When will Liberal corruption end?
Never. No, not until they're all gone.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
For the question, you know what is profiting for all the work of this government and all the members in this house is record investment in green technologies in this country, Mr.
Yeah, wow, that guy's a doofus. Okay, here's the meme for the poster. Guilbeault accused of siphoning $254 million to his own company.
Because they're quite interesting, Mr. Speaker. There was a board member named André-Lise Métaux. She was appointed to the Green Slush Fund in 2016. She runs a venture capital firm called Cycle Capital. Remember that name, Cycle Capital. It's in the green technologies field. I believe it's some sort of venture capital investment fund that gets investment dollars from government and elsewhere and then invests it in other green technology companies, what have you. And before and during her time, Ms. Métaux's time on the board, her company received $250 million in grants from the Green Slush Fund. $250 million to Cycle Capital. Some of that was before, again, that she was on the board. But while she was on the board, $114 million went to green companies that she had herself invested in. $114 million. Personally approved, enriching herself, Liberal appointed. And what's interesting, during her time on the board, again, it certainly pays to be a Liberal insider, Mr. Speaker.
It sure does. It sure does, these Liberal pieces of garbage.
The value of her company, again, Cycle Capital, tripled. And no wonder, with a stamp of approval from the federal government, a company sort of has that gravitas that they're a trustworthy company or something like that, in the sense that others can invest in you because, well, the federal government has. So her company, with these investments from taxpayers through the Green Slush Fund, tripled its investment or tripled its value. I did want to talk.
The Auditor General raised almost $400 million of funds that were either conflicted or spent outside the terms of the agreement. That's my concern, on behalf of taxpayers. My concern, I'm sorry if it offends you, that by your own admission, your companies received $10.4 million while you're on the board. But that's not my concern that you feel offended by it. My concern is that you clearly were in a conflict of interest. Now, I want to go in a different vein. On your time on the board, you, according to the Lobbyist Register, you lobbied government 51 times. Now, I don't know if you were in the meetings. It's under your name. Between 2016 and 2021 for various aspects of STTC's needs. 47 times on those registrations prior to his election, Stephen Guilbeault is listed. Were you both doing the lobbying together, or was Mr. Guilbeault doing it on his own?
First, those meetings followed all of the lobbying rules. And if you've read about them, it's because they were declared. And Stephen Guilbeault and I traveled across the country subsequent to a study done showing underfunding. Believe it or not, we met with politicians in
2017, you made an investment with a Chinese state-owned enterprise. They're an investor with you, and you have an office in China. Are you following the Chinese National Security Act that requires those who operate in China to spy and steal technology?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. As much as I have no idea what the heck that has to do with SDTC. If the member wants to put a motion forward to go after those, I'm sure we could, but I don't see how this relates to our study.
Madame Metterati, réponse ou...
I'm not a Chinese spy.
You have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr.
We don't believe you.
Paralyzed for weeks now because he refuses to hand over evidence to the police in the $400 million liberal slush fund scandal. Now we find out what he might be hiding. It turns out that his radical environment minister has a stake in one of the companies that got 10 million of those dollars. This is a scam. And by the way, the official that handed over the money had interest in the very same company. Is the Prime Minister covering this up because he's worried about the questions the police might have for his minister?
Hear, 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 hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, despite the efforts of the Conservative leader to partisanize and polarize everything, we still live in a country where the police are independent, the judiciary is independent, and the RCMP
Not from our experience over the last 4 years.
has clearly stated that they don't need and don't particularly want the documents that the leader of the opposition is freezing Parliament over. We will continue to stand up for the integrity and the independence of our police services, and we will, while we're at it, continue to encourage the leader of the opposition to get the necessary security clearance to see the threats to Canadians and protect his own caucus.
Well, he's well on his way to becoming the next Prime Minister, you doofus.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Journal de Montréal. News from Ottawa, and this is really jaw-dropping as we learn that Justin Trudeau's radical environment minister, Stephen Guilbeault, is profiting from Justin Trudeau's Liberal Green Slush Fund. You remember the Green Slush Fund? The government agency called Sustainable Development Technologies Canada. They were tasked with handing out $1 billion of your money to green technology companies. Now we learn that radical environment minister Stephen Guilbeault continues to hold shares in a green technology investment firm called Cycle Capital. Cycle Capital is a venture capital firm whose investments got more than $200 million from the Liberal Green Slush Fund since Cycle Capital was created. These are funds that were approved by Justin Trudeau's hand-picked Liberal board members, including Guilbeault's longtime personal friend and colleague, André-Lise Matteau.
Boom, the full circle comes around, guys.
So who's André-Lise Matteau? Well, she's the founder and owner of Cycle Capital, and she was appointed to the Green Slush Fund board by Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau. I'm just interrupting, guys, so we don't get a copyright.
During her time on the Green Slush Fund board, companies in which Cycle Capital was invested received more than $100 million just in her time on the board. That's millions of dollars of your hard-earned money. As Cycle Capital investments benefit from the Green Slush Fund, Justin Trudeau's friends got richer. Each of those dollars from the Green Slush Fund enhanced not only the value of each Cycle Capital investment, but also the value of Cycle Capital itself.
Oh man, how frustrating. And the funny thing is the taxes, like half of Canada is government employees now, or what was the number? It's just massive. They doubled the amount of government employees, but they're not actually creating any of the tax dollar base that is paying for all this. It's just the hardworking people who, with private businesses who are taxed to the yang, they're the ones paying all the taxes for all these 100,000s of employees by the federal government, the bureaucratic positions that don't do anything and need to be cleaned out completely. Essentially what Trump is going to be doing in the USA, getting efficiency down, getting rid of these positions that are just slowing things down and making it worse. They don't actually have a job at all.
Since Justin Trudeau took office, Cycle Capital's investment holdings have tripled in value, growing from $200 million to over $600 million today. So what did Trudeau's radical environment minister do to get shares in Cycle Capital? Well, he was their paid lobbyist for a decade before being elected.
Yes, Mr. Guilbeault was a strategic advisor from 2010 on, yes.
Bam! Oh my God. It's just the whole pie comes together. It's just like Walt getting caught with from Hank.
And since Trudeau's radical environment minister, who was sworn into cabinet, companies Cycle Capital own have received almost $20 million more from Justin Trudeau's billion-dollar green slush.
There's the image of pure shit.
As a member of Justin Trudeau's government, Minister Guilbeault continues to hold personal investment in Cycle Capital. This is a direct conflict of interest in my view. The rules for ministers and MPs are that you cannot personally profit from the decisions you make. Yet Trudeau's radical environment minister may have just done that. Did Trudeau's radical environment minister attend cabinet meetings where Justin Trudeau's government approved more money for the Green Slush Fund?
Sure did, sure did.
Did he attend meetings where the government approved the budget that gave another $750 million of your money to the Green Slush Fund?
It's so astounding when you think about like the value of $1 million when we're dealing with the big government. It's just, it feels like nothing when they say millions, but we all know millions is a lot and $1 billion is a ton. But it totally devalues our dollar when it's like, oh, they threw away $750 million. Oh yeah, no problem.
Canadians deserve to know. After 9 years of Justin Trudeau, it clearly pays well to be a Liberal insider. It's time to stop the corruption.
It sure is. Anyways, guys, we're going to leave it at that. Well, guys, yeah, that's life in Canada. And make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Sorry, I'm just laughing at the doctor over here. She doesn't want to be on camera. Just the cats. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Says Coco the Monster. Coconut. Coconut.